will say, when this show first started, I did think that accent was fake. I was like, oh, that's like, I thought she was trying to do an accent. She would just be like, yeah, like, you're not so bad.
Yeah, it definitely took some.
I said, what?
It took some getting used to.
What? And then the shit that had me weak when she was dating that app developer dude, old boy on the boat was like, yeah, do I detect a Russian accent? And he was like, what? You're Russian? I'm like, nigga, you haven't noticed how she been talking this? We go to movie now. And just like, you're foreign? Like, nigga, what?
Is that what he meant? I thought he detected the accent, but he ain't know it was okay.
I'm like, dude, but you knew that she was from somewhere, though. I'm hoping, like, or something.
No way.
You've been lying to me this whole time.
All right, so Inventing Anna is a highly dramatized version of real events that kind of documents the story of this fake German-Russian heiress by the name of Anna Sorokin, but she went by the name Anna Delvey. And she was like this, a fraudster, basically, who went on pretending to be this known socialite in order to scam people out of potentially millions of dollars in order to build this Anna Delvey Foundation, which was supposed to be some big art gallery project that she was working toward, which ultimately didn't work out for her. This series kind of chronicles everything that led up to her imprisonment and all of the people she affected with her scamming adventures. Let's talk about Anna first.
Let's do it.
What a character she is and was. And so Anna Delvey, aka Anna Sorokin, is played by Julia Gardner. Pretty phenomenal young actor. I say young. She's not that young, but she got a very young face. So I think that's why I refer to her as young. But yeah, she was great in this. Completely different character than she was in the Ozark show, which is really the only other thing I have to compare it to. She did a very good job at making herself kind of despicable for me.
Yes.
Like I genuinely could not stand her, and it just got progressively worse as the show continued on. So Anna is a very narcissistic, toxic, sociopathic type. I don't know, man. It's like sometimes you thought that she might have had a glimpse of humanity or empathy toward people, but then she would do some shit that completely contradicted that. So I don't know what kind of person she is, but she ain't the kind of person that I would ever want to be associated with or kick it with. I can tell you that if I don't know anything else after this. Like, just the way she talked to people, the way she just constantly disrespected. I feel like something got to be wrong if you allow yourself to be constantly disrespected by somebody like this. Like, and and still be cool with them. I try to put myself in some of these people's positions. Like, why the fuck was people so enamored by her? If this was like her true personality, again, I know this was probably a lot fictionalized in this show, but if she was even remotely close to this type of person, it begs me to question why anybody would seek to be her friend.
You know, it's funny that you say that, like how it was kind of hard to see what type of person she was, because the interesting thing about this show is that we get to know Anna a lot through the interview process with her friends, like people that she's met throughout her life. And she's a different person damn near every scenario. Like, there's usually a commonality to her with regards to, I guess, this foundation and what she's trying to accomplish. But it was funny when they did that montage of everybody that knew her. And it's like everybody had a vastly different thing to say about her personality. So I say all that to say that I don't think Anna, at least the version that we got in the show, I don't even think she knows really who she is. Like, I think she has an overall agenda, which seems to be constantly keeping a flow of money in and, ultimately trying to get this foundation. But in terms of her personality, it varies.
Also, no version of her that I like.
I was about to say, also to your point, I think a lot of the stuff that she was getting away with, and I think that's kind of what the show was trying to say, is that if you have status and you have money, you can kind of get away with things. And not even necessarily if you have those things, but even the illusion of it. People are so attracted to that. It be the lifestyle, man. People will sacrifice sometimes their dignity and a lot of times they self-respect.
That's just disgusting.
Yeah, like, I mean, well,
No, yeah, I'm saying like people like that. It's like, ugh, that shit gross to me.
Yeah, right. But the interesting thing is some of these situations, not all of them, some of these other people had money and stuff like that, and it was just like, damn, nigga was like, well, you're somebody though. Like, why are you allowing it? But sometimes people have a quality that's just magnetic. And I do think for better or for worse, she did have that. Like, it was like just something about her. You know, if you got that, unfortunately, and used for negative reasons, it can be detrimental to a lot of folks. She kind of like caused chaos wherever she went, man. Let's talk about Vivian.
She kind of like the second main character. First of all, she's married and she's pregnant during the entirety of this, her whole like investigation of these events. She's so caught up in this story with Anna and she's so intrigued by her, I guess. She kind of got tunnel vision and not really focusing on anything else.
I think part of that was because she's kind of like a disgraced journalist too. So, you know.
Yeah, what was going on with the boy and what was that story about?
Yeah, I feel
did you feel like they ever fully explain what happened with that?
I got enough of it to understand that I guess she used a part of a story told by this young man that ended up not being true. Yeah. What I couldn't quite understand was why a lot of blame got pushed on her if he lied. Like, I was confused about some of that. It wasn't quite clear, but it gives you enough information to know that because of that, she has tunnel vision, but I think that is the motivation for it because she's trying to get back basically to where she was. She was like this journalist on the rise. She had this huge opportunity and this situation, this scandal destroyed her life essentially. And she's pregnant now. She's about to have a daughter. She kind of spoke to that in the show like she's trying to leave her something, I guess a legacy or something that she could be proud of or be born into.
I think when she started frustrating me the most was when, like, to the point where she was literally about to have a baby and she was still heavily pursuing this. I was like, yo, you gotta fucking relax. Do you want a divorce? Because that's how you get a fucking divorce.
Right. The doctor had advised her that it wasn't healthy for the baby for her to keep being around.
It's like, yeah, okay, I understand you being passionate about your career and shit, but to what limit? This is your family who is gonna be here after all of that shit is over. You trying to like tarnish that relationship for this fucking story?
Yeah. You know, kind of speaking about the thing with Anna too, it felt like she kind of was caught up in that spell too.
Yeah, she was. And I'm like, why? You constantly getting disrespected by this. Like, that's what I don't be understanding.
Yeah.
Like,
she gluttons for punishment when it came to Anna in some way. It's like they wanted her approval. That's what it seemed like. One of the guys spoke to that. It's like you just wanted her to like you. You know, I didn't mind Vivian as much when they provided more context into her character. I understood where she was coming from.
Yeah.
I still thought that, you know, in a lot of situations, especially with regards to her husband and her baby, that she probably should have took it a bit easy.
She was just annoyingly persistent.
Absolutely.
In certain instances.
Absolutely.
I was like, all right, man.
Todd.
Spodek.
Let's get to Todd.
So Todd is Anna's attorney. Vivian is like the underdog in the journalism world. He's kind of like the underdog in the lawyer world. This is a big case for him as well. He's married. He's got kids as well. And his wife is she's an accomplished like attorney, right?
Yep.
At a huge firm. So
yes.
I'm assuming she's obviously the breadwinner between the two of them. She comes from a background of money too. So this is a big thing for him just to kind of, you know, prove his value, not only to himself, but to the world. He took on his case, even though it probably was like a losing battle, but, you know, he still wanted to pursue it. I like him, man. He was probably one of my favorite, like, people or characters in the show. He was just a likable person in comparison to a lot of the people in this show. He was probably one of the more relatable people for me personally, at least. Also, man, when it comes to these lawyers, boy, man, let me tell you, that's why they say lawyers ain't shit, bro. They be defending these obvious criminals.
God bless him, man, because his client was insufferable. Not only did he have a task in terms of this case, because there was a lot of like damaging evidence to prove that she had did a lot of this stuff, but just his client on top of everything else, as demanding as she was and always calling him, it was just, man, my heart went out to Todd. I would say that Vivian's husband was a lot more understanding of her situation. Like, he seemed like, of course, frustrated as anybody would be, but he was riding. Todd's wife, like, she over this shit. Like, I actually felt like they were going to get a divorce because of this case. I never really felt like that because of Vivian. He related to Anna's story on a personal level. Like, he understood the underdog situation, and I guess he didn't really find any empathy in the fact that she was getting over on a lot of these rich people. I think he saw some of himself in that case, like the fact that she had an uphill battle to fight, and I think he wanted to fight that for her.
For her, I'm sure it didn't make sense for him to be doing some shit like this. If I saw my spouse pursuing some shit that I thought was futile, I would be like, yo, what the fuck are you doing? This is not a good look. I understood she was coming from that aspect, even though I don't necessarily agree with the way that she went about it sometimes, but I don't know, it was a tough spot to be in.
Yes, I guess it's really hard to understand something like this, like why anybody would want to take this case.
Like, this ain't your friend, like,
yeah,
and she be shitting on you like constantly, like,
all the time.
Just,
that's the shit for me.
I thought this shit was just dragged out a bit longer than it needed to be. I'm gonna be honest with you, especially if it was like a lot of fictionalized elements thrown in there. These episodes, most of them were over an hour long. I think the last episode was like an hour and 22 minutes or some shit. I'm like, man, look. All right, they go out to eat. Bill comes, bitch can't pay. How many times that shit need to happen, yo? Like, I don't need to see that, but about 2-3 times for me to get the point. The bitch broke. Yeah, right. This bitch is in the back. You got to roll up the sleeve. It's like, damn, this shit just gonna keep happening. Maybe they could have showed us like the most pivotal times that happened, and then it would kept on being like drawn out every time it would happen too.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. This car was ran like 3-4 cars. I'm like, man, look.
The simple fact that she was even living like that, like, I don't know how much of that is dramatized. I don't think that part probably is. But it's like, bro, you know you ain't got the money, though. Like, what did you think was... Nobody in this restaurant is going to look at you and say, all right, well, you know, fair enough. The meal's on the house. If you know you don't have the money, that's the thing that was frustrating me the most with her. Baby girl, if you know you don't have the funds, why keep going through this dog and pony show every time? Like, what are you trying to appeal to their better nature? This is a business. Like, it's a place of operations. They're not going to let you slide without paying. Like, it'd be one thing if it was just me doing it, living that way. She would invite friends and all this shit, like, make it a spectacle. And it's just like, dog, you want to look like this in front of your people? Like, it's embarrassing, really.
Right. Yo, if I'm out with somebody and I see that shit happen like one time, that's all it's going to take for me. I was like, oh, you're not who I thought you were.
Right.
The fact that she was doing all this shit with the hope of acquiring this loan is crazy.
Yes.
You thought you was going to get this check or this loan without them doing some kind of background on like available funds.
What are you talking about, man? It's not even like this is like your local bank or something. Even they wouldn't do that. But she was going to some of the most prestigious banks in the world, in the US of A, thinking that they weren't going to verify any of it. It's just like she thought that her lies would be enough. You can do that type of shit with people, and I think that's kind of where she got confused. Yeah. It's like you can kind of get over on people sometimes with that. But corporations have a protocol. Nobody's going to give you $1 billion because you said that you had this money to back it up. Like, niggas are going to need to make sure that you got the funds. Plus, not only that, but nobody really knows who you are. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, my dad. What? Who is he?
Yeah, right.
Bring him up here.
Right. I couldn't believe that she thought that, man. I'm like, and that's where her age kind of came into play. Like, they kept trying to talk about, oh my God, she was so savvy beyond her years. I'm like, the bitch wasn't savvy enough because she clearly didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you not know that? You think people just gonna give you millions and billions of dollars?
Speaking of which, man, it was always emphasized how, like, her sense of style and fashion and shit. I was like, I mean, I just wasn't sold. You need a stylist or something. Like, I was not feeling the fits, man. I don't know if it was just me or what, but
she had one or two that
it was a couple. It was a couple, but it was like,
but I was like, damn, man, it was stunning harder than The Devil Wears Prada.
Right. It's like, people put so much stock in, names, but it's like, okay, but you still look like shit, though. Like, if you don't know how to swag that shit out, that shit don't mean nothing to me. I feel like people was just gassing her the fuck up, and I just ain't understand why, man.
She looked nice enough, but not to the degree that this show was trying to push it. You know what I'm saying? I'll say that.
I ain't get all the hype, man, but as you said, like, people... they see status and shit, and they go off of that, and I feel like that blinds a lot of people.
One of the guys kind of spoke to that in the show, though. He was like, yeah, she wasn't like stunningly beautiful. It was something about her, and I can kind of identify with that. I do think that sometimes a person can have a quality.
For sure. Confidence for sure is like definitely.
Absolutely.
That definitely can take you up several
style.
levels.
Like, whatever you presume style to be, if you thought
I guess you just gotta sell it,
confident.
If you selling it, sure.
Yeah.
Maybe it's one of those had to be there type
I was about to say, it sounded like you just had to meet her.
Because, man, look, I just wasn't seeing it, man. I don't know. I just wasn't seeing it.
That's fair. And then when I looked her up, I really was confused.
Oh, yeah. I was actually more confused.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like,
shit, at least what Ruth was doing, I kind of got that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't get this.
Still call her Ruth.
Yeah, right. Hey, listen, bro. Where was they at? Where were they at? In Teterboro? Where was they at when they took that trip?
Morocco,
nigga. Morocco has never looked so scary than it did in this. They had that shit looking like a drug deal.
You talking about them dudes? Them bearded fellows?
Bro, it's actually terrifying to think about, to get stranded in another country where you don't quite know their customs, especially when you don't speak the language really well. That can be a real, like, terrifying issue.
The biggest thing is when you can't pay. That's the real kicker. Because money talks a lot of languages. But when you ain't got that, boy, listen, bro, when Rachel couldn't pay and they had to ride back with old boy, he was just sitting in there like his big ass. Man, that shit had me tripping. He was just in that bitch. In the middle, too, with his big. I'm like, man, get your big grown ass in the back, man. What the fuck?
When she called Wells Fargo or wherever her bank was,
scared to death.
Dog, she was like, I don't want to make any claims about Morocco. Like, I'm not trying to make any judgments. But oh my God.
Biz, this ain't the time to be concerned about sounding racist.
Right. But about to kill me, Well. As much as like it turned out that Rachel kind of was a piece of shit in the end, like kinda. But I felt so bad for her in that moment, especially when she kept trying to call to get her money back. Cause I'm like, damn, she's just a regular person. You know what I'm saying? This ain't like a socialite or a millionaire. Like granted, she had a great job, but at the same time, I'm sure she's making a suitable wage. I mean, $60,000 lump sum, the average person, that's a detriment to them, especially on your company card. Like, that's not what that's supposed to be for. So not only are you on the hook for the money, but your job is in jeopardy. Like, this your livelihood at stake. So I felt her, even though the show flipped it and tried to, you know, ultimately kind of villainize her. I think ultimately what it did was just provide more perspective on her. This situation was still fucked up, in my opinion.
They tried to villainize her, but I was like, nah, how your friend do some shit like that to you? I don't know, man. It was hard for me to feel like she was like in the wrong here.
This is what I felt. I felt when she put the sauce on it about how traumatic it was and then was selling her story all around town. I did understand that, and I thought, I don't want to say the word grimy because it's not, but it did seem pretty opportunistic to me for somebody that had been crying so much about how they were hurt and stuff like that. Like, that's not really how trauma works. So that was the part that made me look at Rachel like this. Even still, that don't really negate the fact that what she had been through with old girl was still fucked up.
Yeah, I feel like she made the best out of her situation.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like she was seeking some shit like this. It happened to her, and she was like, well, shit, now I can capitalize on this. Yeah. So if she would have went in with the intent to exploit Anna, maybe, she could have been seen as the bad guy to me. But this shit happened to her, and she capitalized off of it. I don't think she came in with that intent there.
How did you feel about her calling the boys on her, on Anna?
I can't imagine calling the folks on anybody I know personally.
I wouldn't do that. What I will say is that her afterwards, because she was like, oh, she got arrested? Oh, I had no idea. That was the part where I was like, yo, Rachel kind of like, she had a little scummy at part. She got some scummy qualities for sure.
I heard the actual person ain't have no involvement with like how she was portrayed in this. She was never even contacted. So I don't even know how true.
Like no attempt?
Not at all. So I don't even know how true the events that happen in this show are. It's true about the 60,000, but I don't know. You know, everything else is probably just
I was about to say, that's court record. That's probably record that she sued her for.
I don't even know how everything went down.
You know, I couldn't understand why her black homegirl was riding for her so hard. Like, and I love that she was riding hard for a friend.
Because she was giving her money. Like, that's it.
No, man. It seemed above that.
She
like,
paid
her loyalty seemed above that.
But why?
Because I feel like because she made her whole again, that's the only reason that she was still...
No, I don't know what the fuck she was on. I ain't agree with...
Trying to figure out.
Yeah, like, I didn't agree with...
It seemed beyond just like her hate. It didn't seem like her friendship with her was contingent on what she...
I feel like if she would have lost a significant amount of money, it would have been different.
Yeah, that's fair. I think if she probably, like you said, if she wouldn't have never paid back what she owed to her hotel where she worked, that probably would have been a different situation. But for whatever reason, like she kept believing her.
Wage too hard.
And I think that situation kind of reinforced the idea that Anna was who she said she was. And I think that's what she was saying. She was like, no, she really is that person. And what I was just like,
why do you think you know so much about this foreign ass person?
People hang out a few times. It don't mean you know somebody. You can know somebody for a lifetime. Don't mean you know somebody.
Exactly.
So
there was a lot of shit I didn't quite understand in this series, to be fair.
Yeah.
Like some of the way that some of the relationships that she was forming with people and why they were like just so quick to back her.
And you know, they often say, you know, a lot of high society stuff kind of happens behind the scenes. A lot of these deals made, I think the saying is that a lot of deals, $1 million deals are made on the golf course, so to speak. I thought it was interesting that all it took was like a word from somebody, you know, like if you told me that you knew somebody and I should invest in them, I would still do my due diligence. Like, I love this nigga, but I don't know that nigga. That says a lot though. If one of my best people tell me that this is somebody to look out for, like, yeah, okay, great. But I'm just not going to take that word for bond because that's still another person. This ain't my boy. This is somebody else. Somebody keep telling me that you an heiress. I'm going to look into that.
Right.
Like, okay, well, who's her dad? I would ask my friend.
In this
like,
day and
who's
age,
her dad?
Yo, I'm glad you mentioned that because look, man, I can understand some shit like this back in maybe the 90s or something.
Yeah.
When, you know, our
technology wasn't.
Yeah, bro, this shit took place in like the late 2000s. Like, you know, just a few years ago, like 2015 through 2018.
That actually surprised me too.
Bro, I was like, yo, why the fuck is nobody looking this shit up? All you gotta do is
Russian
Google and
heiress father. 0 results. Oh, it's some results, but it ain't this.
Right.
It ain't this whole.
Trucking. What?
Yeah.
HVAC.
And then it's like, okay, people, if you knew her, you caught up in this web of lies, but the bank had a hard time verifying that she was an heiress. Just like, what? Like you said, in this day and age, though, in this age where you could find out literally anything about anyone, nobody even was attempting to check.
It was weird, man.
I guess that's a lie that's easily debunked. Like you could look that up easily. Like it ain't like she just told, like, hey, I come from money. That could be anything. But you said you was an heiress.
And look how many people never heard her.
On top of this, like she was in New York City, which is a melting pot of the world. You never encountered anybody that came from Russia and high society or nothing that could be like, hey, I never heard of you. I'm from where you from. Like, I just find that very hard to believe that there was nobody from that walk of life that in this world of so many diversity, you know, America especially, there's so many people that come from different places here.
Yeah. Nobody
ever was just like, hey, I'm actually from your hood. I don't know you. I don't know nothing about you. Where you from?
Some people was so, it's like once you got validated by somebody and then, you know, they realized they ain't know it. They were so quick to try to be in the know. It's like, oh, well, shit, I know this person too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I will say this, man. When her and the lawyer had like their little fight when she was in the cell and shit, I was so glad he said some of the things he said to her finally. She was going in on him too.
She was begging for
He was saying a lot of the things that I wish I could say.
On top of that, man, the fact that, listen, man, when you white, you can do whatever you want. That's just the truth. The simple fact that this young white girl was holding up court for her outfits, let me tell you something, all right? If that was a black girl, they would have came in her cell and got her out of that bitch. It wouldn't have been, she would have came in there with whatever the fuck they found her in. I couldn't believe that court was being held up because, and the judge was allowing it. Like, there is absolutely no type of leeway for anybody else like that. That's insane to me. She was really exposing, if anything, this shit held up by a straw. Really. Like, all these financial institutions, it's like, damn, this is what it takes to topple them over like some little Russian girl with a few lies in a Gucci bag. Like, holy fuck, my money ain't safe.
I mean, overall, in Vinny Anna, I definitely appreciated the performances, especially from Julia Garner. I thought she was great in this. She did a good job at making me despise her as much as I love her at Ozark. So some credit is due there for sure. Ultimately, yeah, the show, it went a little bit longer than I felt it needed to, not only in the number of episodes, but the runtime of each episode. If it was going to be episodes as long, I felt like it could have been condensed a little bit. You know, focus on like the key moments of fraud, maybe. I thought it did a good job of telling the story because I had never even heard about it. I never heard of her, bro, honestly, which, I mean, this was apparently a high profile case. By the end of it, though, I was definitely kind of like, I was kind of over it. I think I'm gonna give Inventing Anna a 6 out of 10 for me. It was alright, a little better than alright, but that was mainly because of the performances, not so much the story.
I will say that I did enjoy the ride of the show. I was genuinely intrigued to see how it was going to end. I like storytelling through characters, and I thought the way the show did that with, you know, telling a lot of her past through people that had met her, I thought that was cool. Like every episode kind of focused on a different person that she had come in contact with. The show definitely drags though, for sure. Not only in the sense of the length of each episode, but also in just the content. Like a lot of repetition goes on after a while. You kind of got the point. I felt like some of that was just a bit unnecessary. It didn't feel like these shows needed to be as long as they were. Overall, just really enjoyed the performances, if nothing else. I enjoyed myself for what it was. I'll say that I'll probably give this show a 7. I would say if you're a big fan of Shonda Rhimes' writing, this could probably be something that you would definitely want to check out. It's interesting to see the real life parallel to some of this stuff. That's probably some of my biggest enjoyment out of watching stuff like this, trying to figure out how much of it is fiction and how much isn't.
That was our review of the Netflix original Inventing Anna. Hope y'all enjoyed it. And as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And if you have any suggested reviews you'd like to see us do here, please drop a comment below.
Absolutely. And if you guys have seen the series Inventing Anna, please let us know what you thought. How'd you feel about the character? Were you familiar with this story? Tell us how you thought that everything played out. Did you think it was too long? Do you like Shonda Rhimes? Are you a big fan of her work? Please let us know that as well.
Yeah.
We appreciate y'all, man.
All right, thank y'all.
Peace.
Peace.